Bridging is one of the most useful mechanics in all of Minecraft, whether you're trying to bridge across a lava lake or rush your opponent really fast in Bed Wars. Over the past year or so, bridging has become very popular, and players have been inventing all sorts of different viral methods that allow them to cross a distance as efficiently as possible. Over the past couple of months, bridging has seen a sharp decline in both popularity and progression. Now, the primary reason for all of this is that the methods have become so efficient that they are really hard to improve upon, and when a record is broken now, it's usually broken by a singular Minecraft tick, if anything at all, which compared to a year ago when records would be broken by seconds at a time, is not very monumental. A lot of the popularity of bridging also came from the ability for players to do it, as when the God Bridge first became popular, or even thinking back all the way to the Breezely Bridge, these methods were much more risky due to the player not pressing shift, and most players were not capable of performing them, and if anything, they just weren't consistent enough. The reason that consistency, or well, the lack of it, was so important to the success of bridging was due to the methods being very hard to recreate. Obviously, something like a God Bridge or even a telly bridge is not something that's very simple for the average player to perform, so when people started uploading clips of them doing this to YouTube, especially in things like Bed Wars that were very popular around this time, players quickly became very curious to how these methods worked, and on top of that, wanted to do it themselves. And of course, this is what sparked the primary popularity of bridging, as now a large portion of the Minecraft community would find themselves searching up bridging videos or tutorials and just trying to understand how the method worked, causing it to absolutely blow up on YouTube, and with that, the rise of a lot of creators such as Bedless Noob, Dugile, 7evan7, and just so many more. However, with such a large interest in bridging, players that weren't so well known began to catch on and started learning the method themselves. Now, this was of course inevitable, but it caused the bridging method to become a lot more saturated, and therefore less interesting and special to the general audience of Minecraft. For a while, content creators were able to milk their ability to do these fast bridging methods to get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, and even the creators who were nowhere near capable of doing these methods were able to capitalize off of the success of bridging, as they would just reach out to the people that could do it and feature them in a video, which of course only spread the bridging method even more. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing necessarily, because I honestly got a lot of inspiration from bridging YouTubers like this at the time, and of course for a long while my channel was entirely based around bridging, whether that was God bridging or telly bridging or world records or things like that. But of course, as more of these mainstream creators began making content around bridging, the methods were being put in front of more eyes than they had ever seen. Now, just to scale things, around this time we're talking about things like God bridging and telly bridging, and stuff like speed telly still didn't really exist, yet bridging was at its absolute peak. You see, when players switched from bridging methods such as God bridging all the way to telly bridging, it caused for such massive time differences that videos on things like MC Play HD were able to blow up easily. And of course, the ultimate peak was reached when Dugile popped his head out of nowhere and completed a full speed telly on MC Play HD, essentially destroying every world record to ever come before him by an absolute mile. And while this had happened slightly past the peak of Minecraft's bridging popularity, I would say mechanically this was the absolute peak of bridging. Speed telly bridging was just so different and so creative from anything that had ever been seen before, and even while obviously comparable to telly bridging, it was so much faster and way more efficient in just about every way possible. After this point, it was pretty obvious that bridging was past its prime, as slowly the rest of the bridging community, as well as a lot of other newer players, began to catch up and started being able to do speed tellies themselves. But there was one problem. You see, now so many players were capable of doing speed telly bridging, but there wasn't any faster bridging methods available for players to learn. Pretty much every good bridger in the community was stuck doing the exact same method and getting the exact same times as everyone else, and with no visible progress to be made, the relevance of bridging quickly began to drop. That was until tap speed telly bridging was discovered. The method, while exactly the same as regular speeds, allowed for players to shave off a sizable amount of time depending on how many speed tellies they did by tapping their spacebar instead of holding it for each jump. This was an absolutely groundbreaking moment for the bridging community, and of course world records began to start appearing more and more as players started adding more tap speed tellies to the records. But inevitably, players became able to tap a full speed telly bridge, and from there, the times were pretty much at their limit. Now, if you have kept up to date with bridging, you'll know that a lot of world records have still been being broken, and as I've covered in the past, most of these are due to a change in momentum from players discovering ways to make their turns more efficient and their movement overall quicker. Now, this whole era of bridging from tap speeds all the way to faster momentum is not something that was very interesting to the general YouTube audience, because, well, the bridging method looked the same, it was just a tiny bit faster. And of course, with players spending hours and hours of time to only improve by such a small fraction, a lot of the community decided to quit and move on to other things. As it stands right now, bridging is pretty much at a standstill, though with some pretty crazy methods in the works such as chain 4 blocks, it's safe to say we might see the grand return of bridging in the near future. So is bridging really coming to an end, or is this actually just the beginning? I guess only time will tell. If you did enjoy the video, please do consider subscribing because I am trying to hit 40k before the end of July, and trust me, there's a lot of crazy content to come. And with that being said, I really do hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys soon. Goodbye.